Okay, so one comment I hear, and this was specifically brought up in a Facebook group that I run for people that travel with challenges, was is that on Princess it seemed like there wasn't much availability for passengers that needed an accessible cabin. So, can you offer them any advice, any suggestions?
Book as far out as possible. We do limit accessible cabins to people who do have a need. So we do have that requirement so that we have people not just reserving them because they want some extra space, right? We have a process in place whereby you submit some information so that you verify that you do have this need, because of course, you know, we do limit the number of the cabins that are accessible. It does vary by ship, and with Princess we have quite a few different classes of ships. So we have everything from our mid-sized ships, which would be the Island and the Coral Princess, which were built to go through the Panama Canal. Those are our Panamax ships. And then we have a little bit larger class of ship, which would be like the Emerald and the Crown Princess. All of the ships within that class, every class that we have does have accessible staterooms. Where you find the big difference is you find in these different classes, you know, how many staterooms there are and kind of the width of some of the stateroom doors. That sort of evolved over time. So those are things that would make differences, but there are no ships that do not have accessible staterooms. There are also not any ships that don't have washers and dryers, oddly enough. That's one thing that all of our ships have as well. So there are some things that are standard within all of the ships. You will find that each ship is a little bit different in terms of some of the restaurants that are on board and things like that. But in terms of accessible staterooms, they're always available. And the best idea is to book them as far out as possible.
Okay, and so so that kind of ties into my next question. Do you require proof of need? So what do you require? What do they have to submit?
We do have an accessibility form that you have to fill out, and your travel advisor fills that out and submits that for you. I would always recommend that you book with a travel advisor specifically for things like this, because you want to make sure that you have all of the documentation covered. So this is something that I, again, you know, I always think that a travel advisor is a helpful asset to you in any scenario, but especially from an accessibility perspective, because they will be sending in your required documentation to our access office. You definitely want to have somebody in your corner there that can be your advocate and get that documentation taken care of for you. So those arrangements must be secured in advance. And the earlier you do that, the better. Like I say, if we get to a point where we need accessible staterooms and we have not received your documentation, we will remove you from the accessible stateroom.
Okay.